Hello, and welcome to Ask Me About K-Pop, the essential guide for recent converts and season fans alike. My name is Shannon.
And I'm Angelica.
And it's a new day in Shiny World. Welcome to Shiny World, everyone. Doesn't the air feel clearer today?
2020, and the sky is clear. The birds are singing. Flowers are in bloom in the middle of fall.
It's truly wonderful.
Our dear, sweet Sergeant Mino is back. He has returned to us from the Marines. Our sweet angel.
It's so
and
great.
Shiny antics have begun again.
Immediately.
Shenanigans are immediately up and running.
Oh, and I just feel great. Yeah, I feel like people have maybe been like waiting for us like on the socials the past couple of days, but I haven't said anything just because my feelings about Shiny they cannot be condensed into texts, you know? Y'all know.
Our feelings are not concise.
It's much deeper. It's a thing I can't explain in words, but just know that like a piece of our soul is like free now and like everything is right. And a small like cage I put around my heart 2 years ago for itself is now open because they are here. My Shiny is here and I don't have to feel sad about anything.
And even if I do feel sad about things, I can turn to my Shiny to make me feel better.
Shiny! Anyway, I just had to say that up top because if we put this episode out without like acknowledging Shiny 2020, people would think something was wrong with us. But it's still book club time.
Yes. Still time for book clubs, and today we are returning with a return back to the lighter side of this fun book and this fun book club. So today we're doing some Shine book club games.
Yeah, so we were joined by Jessie from Certified Noonas, and we had a really good time. We're going to talk about some kernels of truth and things we theorize might be true about the book. And then we play a little Mad Libs with some of these clunky ass paragraphs. And it was a lot of fun. So without any further ado, take it away, past Shannon and Angelica. All right, welcome to third act of Shine Book Club, and this time we are joined by Jessie from Certified Noonas. Welcome, Jessie.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Welcome to the show. So we've been asking all of our guests on book club episodes, how was your experience of Shine? Little review. How did it treat you?
Well, as good as expected, I guess. I'm not really a rom-com person, so it's definitely not my genre to begin with. But I wanted to read it just because, because.
For the culture.
Yeah, exactly. It's a thing. And I would say it's a book.
It certainly is a book.
Yeah. I mean...
That's my favorite review so far. It's a book.
It's a book. It was okay.
Did you have any expectations going into it? Like, you said that you're not really a rom-com person. Did you go into it thinking that that's what it was going to be?
I thought that it was going to be a rom-com. I did, get surprised towards the end that it became not a rom-com, essentially. So that was a kind of a huge plot turn that I wasn't expecting ever to have happen. But I didn't actually come in with that much into it. I just kind of I figured it wasn't going to be the greatest written book no matter what. Mm-hmm. And it was already in a genre that I already didn't like, so I have to allow that to not kind of cloud my judgment on it. Just because it's not my genre, it doesn't mean it's not anybody else's. So yeah, I came in with no hopes, essentially. So
the bar was low to begin with.
The bar was really low. So it things happened that I was happy with. So there's that. So there was a couple of surprises in it. Yeah. So all in all, it's not my favorite, and it's got some huge messy problems with it, but I mean,
which part did you think was the messiest?
Yes, because we're 3 episodes deep now. We've spoiled this whole book.
Yeah.
So
you can say you don't have to hold anything.
Let us know what you're like.
I think I don't think any of the characters ever got anything. Like, there was no tension on them to make you actually like feel anything for it.
Yes.
The characters. And there was obvious things that she wanted in the book, and obvious tropes that she wanted to have happen. And it's like it's a book that's gonna have tropes, but this was a book that had like 4,000 times the tropes than a normal YA rom-com type book is.
Right.
So that bogged down the story. And I think going into it knowing K-pop, it is terrible. Because there's so much in it, and I don't know if it's like a purposeful thing. Like, maybe she purposely made it so unbelievable that, like, as a K-pop person who knows a little bit more, obviously I don't know ins because I'm not part of the industry, but I feel like that made the book seem just like kind of off the entire time. Like, a regular like person who's just like picking up the book who's never been into K-pop, I think would get more out of the book than like a fan, which is kind of sad because fans are going to be the ones reading this book. Right.
This is the great debate that's been happening around this book club in general, is like the idea of, is it so wild because of Korea's defamation laws that like she couldn't put anything that was too close to being true because she'd get in trouble? Or is this whole book like a ploy to sort of get non-K-pop fans to read a YA novel because K-pop fans know that it's so far off from the industry that exists in our reality that it's like, who is this book for? So everybody's kind of generally confused about like, who is this book for?
Yeah, that's the big question, right? It's like, who's the audience? Because you would think like, especially being marketed as a book written by like a former K-pop star herself, right? You would think that the way it's marketed is like trying to grab people who already care about K-pop, but it's so clearly written for people who know nothing about K-pop that it's like maybe the marketing team and the ghostwriting team didn't communicate.
Yeah.
We got a little crossed.
I mean, I guess it could be that the team, especially in the US, didn't want to market it as a K-pop group, even like past the defamation stuff. It might be that like they thought it wasn't going to reach as much people as it could be just as a kind of standard YA with like a little bit of this K-pop into it just to kind of draw people a little bit more.
Yeah. My theory is that this was intentionally like purposefully shopped as a Netflix movie, and somebody was like, you have to write the book first and then we'll say that it's based on a book, like, because the way that it's paced out is like beat for beat every Netflix rom-com. Like, the book just, to me, it feels like a vehicle. Like, they just wanted to make the movie. They just want to make a movie. Or a K-drama or whatever. Like,
well, that's even the thing. Like, I know a lot of people kind of like compared it to a K-drama, but I actually don't think it's like a K-drama at all. Like, there's a lot of stuff that deviates from the standard K-drama kind of hits, and this book doesn't do that. It's definitely a Western book. Like, so it's like definitely wants that teen rom-com audience. So
that really struck us too, that this felt very, very much geared toward a Western audience and the sort of like Western ideas of what a young Hollywood romance would be like. And in
like,
that
caught
sense,
by the paparazzi, fake dating scandal, like that's very Hollywood.
Like, a dating scandal that was all the mastermind of the PR company or whatever, right? Like, that's so Hollywood.
Yeah.
But
and then like you're like, but a dating scandal would like ruin everyone.
Exactly. You're like, so, no, it would ruin everyone, including this Jason character. Yeah.
Well, that brings us to our first discussion today, which we've been waiting to get to since episode 1, which is the thing that everybody was hoping when we heard that international K-pop superstar Jessica Jung was writing a YA novel, is that we would learn some dirt, like something about K-pop stars that we know, because she's gonna say something about someone. And like we said, there's very strong defamation laws. So like anything like that Dixie Chicks album, there's details, but they probably were changed because nobody wants to get sued.
Right.
Yeah.
So we want to discuss like the kernels of truth, we're calling it. And the main question, and Helika, you told me that you saw an interview with Jessica saying that something about Jason and his...
Yes, so I read she did I believe it was in like short New York Times interview where they asked her like about the book, and she mentioned that the only character who is one specific person is the little sister Leah, right? She is specifically supposed to be Crystal. Crystal even picked the character's name, like she's entirely based on her and is like a factual like person. But that Jason is inspired by someone. Like that she did admit that Jason and Mina, both characters, are inspired by real people that she knew while in the industry. But she didn't disclose that it was one specific person, and she of course didn't hint to any like who it could be. So that was our first question. Who could Jason possibly be? Do you have any hypotheses about that, Jessie, before we get into our list?
I mean, like, to be honest, I'm not a Girls' Generation fan. I don't know much about them or Jessica. But I am a very big 2PM fan.
Ooh.
So
okay, great.
I do know the one that could be a potential would be Tech.
Yes. Okay, perfect. This was your
He's
beautiful at segues because we're starting with what I'm calling the 2 p.m. quadrant of guesses.
Okay.
And yes, Tech is our strongest candidate because he did have actual dating rumors with Jessica. Back in the day, we've talked about this when we talked about like mishmash groups a bazillion years ago. We talked about how 2 p.m. and Girls' Generation used to like promote as like a kind of weird co-ed group, and they would do like musical numbers at award shows.
Yeah. And that like horrific water park commercials.
Yes, the Caribbean Bay commercials. Yes. So when they did those, Tech and Yuna were always paired up. That was the like front-facing couple.
Right.
But the rumor was always that it was like Jessica and Taecyeon in the background. And they were paparazzi caught in Japan one time, like at a coffee place. So like, is it a date? Is it not? What were they doing in Japan? Gasp. But Taecyeon is from Boston, which is Canada.
It's not that
close
far from
enough.
Canada.
I mean, it's English speaking, like,
right?
Yeah, he spent most of his younger years there, so he's got that angle, definitely.
Yes, but then today I was made aware of another 2 p.m. angle that it could possibly be, and this is one Jay Park.
Oh.
Because of a specific and people forget this because Jay was let go so early on, but he was very, very popular, and he was the leader of 2 p.m. And there was a show called Idol Army, and every season was like hosted by a different idol group, and 2 p.m. hosted the third season. And on the Girls' Generation episode, they were like doing this big elaborate game to like pick partners, and Jay like did this like Ursher like dance for Jessica, and then the production crew like called him out and said that when he sent the track to the production crew, it was titled "For When I Seduce Jessica." So like the whole episode is like subtitled "The Seduction of Jessica." Like that was the big. So Jay Park is also Western. Jay Park also scandal-ridden, like
in
potential.
Terms of, like the personalities, he's definitely more Jay Park than he is Tech, like for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. So I had briefly thought about it, but I'm not a fan of Jay Park, so I don't pay attention to anything he does really. So I didn't know if he had a connection, and I got into 2 p.m. like after he had already left. So.
Yes. So there's that one. And then I guess apparently many years later, Jessica, like once they were both gone from their groups, Jessica and Jay did like a fashion campaign together.
Yeah.
So like they've existed in the same space.
Yeah.
Is the point.
And Jay is also from the United States, right? So he fits the foreign idol profile.
Like perfectly, because Tech is actually wasn't born there. So like that.
Right.
Yeah.
He's like one of those ones who like went to elementary school.
Yeah,
in
like who
America,
spent
and then
most
like
of his
went
like
back
years.
and, like,
Yeah.
But then the last 2 p.m. Person in question, and I think it's like the least likely, but there's chance that there's inspiration in there. And this is Nakoon, because Koon is very, very wealthy. Like Jason is very, very wealthy.
Yeah, and his family like basically owns like the town he's from in Thailand. Like when I remember when we got married, when he took Victoria to his home in Thailand, and like everybody on the street was just like, Nakoon, like, hello, Princess, like he's back, hello. So I was like, that fits.
Yeah, and Koon publicly dated Jessica's like only public friend in her group, which was Tiffany. And when that news broke, because it was the Dispatch January 1 couple that year, people thought that it might have been fake because Nakoon had drunk driving scandals, and like so people didn't quite believe that relationship at first and thought that it might be a
publicity
press ploy.
stunt.
So
I kind of like
interessante
assumed that like because if I were her, I would like say it's about someone, but it's not actually someone I ever dated, and so I just like knew details from, and so like if it was anybody, like I could see Nakoon being that person, because like, and I don't think she actually like dated him.
Right, because you'd get all the dirt from the friend
yeah.
to be able to write about the boyfriend.
Yeah, and
from
his
that
character is very specific in what it wants to do, because he basically contains 2 major plot points that the book really wanted to express. So I feel like his character already had to be faked just to like make that a thing, because you want the person who like is showing those 2 major things about like, you know, being Korean American or Korean Canadian, you know, not Korean born, and kind of the like misogynistic, like microaggressions. You'd want it in someone like the boyfriend or the like person who's always around, and that's like very specific. So like it could possibly be that she would never have someone like actually in her life that fits it, so she kind of just went around.
Yeah. So that brings us, so that's the 2 p.m.s that could possibly be Jason.
Okay.
Now we're gonna go take it to the family, and we have 3 SM families that we think it could be.
I have a theory on one.
I think it's funny that all of the non-SM related possibilities are all from 2 p.m. like all of
because that's how small the industry was in 2007.
Well, yeah,
they were
they
just
really
like 6 groups.
Did push them together. Like they were always like doing stuff together. So I could see that.
They were. It's true.
Yeah, I miss those days so much. But anyway.
2 p.m. I miss you.
Okay, so first SM candidate, which feels pretty strong, is Donghae from Super Junior.
For sure.
And this is because in 2012, a picture surfaced online that was of Jessica and Donghae, and their like heads are together. It's quite coupley. And based on the haircuts, it was much older than 2012. So then people were like, did they date like back in early
trainee
debut
days? Yeah.
Yes. And like, yeah, Donghae, like we were wondering when thinking about this book, like if it's based on any kind of Jessica's actual training period, then the boys she would have been around would have been Super Juniors. So we were like, which of the Super Juniors? And then our guests on last week's episode let us in on this Donghae tea. And so we're like,
I could also see Donghae. He's the boy that always has the guitar around, and that kind of is
oh
a
my
big thing
God.
that like happens in Shine. So.
Oh my God, you're right. He is totally that guy at the party who pulls out his guitar. That is 100%. Yeah. And it would fit as far as like Jason being the slightly more experienced group that has already debuted. Like that fits with
in
Super
the same
Junior.
company.
Yeah, exactly. Highly suspicious.
highly suspicious. And for the general plot points, like I've never heard stories about like Donghae being a diva or anything, but we could all state from fact that Super Junior tends to get away with a lot.
Yeah.
So like for that angle, like that's probably a decent group to look to for people who would have been in Jessica's time getting away with eating in the practice room or whatever. Like, those boys would have been Super Juniors.
I will, however, in his defense,
of course, because you love him so
say, I will say only that Donghae seems to be one of the harder working Super Juniors.
Yes.
So
yes,
I don't know
true.
if he would necessarily be the like slacker, like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
What's the word I'm thinking? Golden boy. I don't.
Yes.
If there's one of those in Super Junior, I don't think it's Donghae. But
It's probably
I agree.
Hee-chul, right?
And that's what I was gonna say. I was like,
What
it's
if
probably
it's like
Hee-chul.
all of Super Junior together, just in one?
They become
person?
Jason,
Yeah.
Mecha Jason. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that's what we mostly think of for Mina, but we'll get to her. But
We'll
like,
get to her
it
in a
could
second.
easily just be a combination
Oh.
of all 12 Super Juniors.
Also, just to pull it back to 2 p.m.
Please.
Really quick, it is weird that the only person you really hear about who's in the group with him is named Minjun. Just throwing that out there.
Oh my god.
Wait, why? I
That's
don't get it.
Junkei's name.
Oh.
Okay,
Interesting.
think about that, and we'll go ahead into the SM.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So speaking of Super Junior, the next person on our list is somebody that I didn't think of immediately, but the Discord users brought up as a Canadian person because I was like, only Mark and Wendy are from Canada. And then they were like, no, Henry is from Canada.
Henry would be a stretch, I think, though, because wouldn't he be pretty young?
But he was like around, he was like
He
violining
definitely would have
in
at
Super
least
Junior
been
videos.
a trainee.
That's
Yeah.
true.
He would have at least been a trainee at the same time as
Okay.
her. I thought Henry was a stretch because I don't find Henry charming. So like I don't think that he like has the personality to pull off what Jason like is supposedly able to do.
Well,
But-
maybe he's just the Canadian angle
Yeah.
of the whole thing.
Sure. But yeah, that Henry's mostly here because of the Canada-ness, and I was trying to think of other parallels, and it was like, oh, Jason was good at guitar, and like Henry's good at violin, and that was his like angle. But like people also were like, everyone hated Super Junior M, and like, but he seems like a darling. Like despite the fact that everybody hated Super Junior M, I always almost say Super M, but that's a different thing.
Skip right over it.
Different thing.
But people hated it so much, and they kind of don't seem to care about like Zumi or whatever, but they like love Henry, and they have like protected Henry all of these years. Like they love Henry. So I don't know. But like I feel like their timelines wouldn't have overlapped too much.
Yeah, because didn't he actually? I don't know. He could have been in Super M kind of later too. Wasn't he like a little bit later or no? Did he
I'm looking
fully
this up
on
right
Super
now.
M?
Super Junior M's came out a little bit after the original Super Junior did. I feel like I remember that from our Super Junior deep dive.
Henry debuted in the Don't Dawn music video, which came out in 2007,
Oh,
and
wow.
Girls' Generation debuted in 2006.
Okay.
Okay,
Or
so he would have
2007.
been.
So
he
they were
definitely
like
would
the
have been
same
around.
class.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he probably actually, if we're going in that kind of angle of, probably was kind of picked on because he was one of the non-Koreans.
Right.
That could be an angle.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely when it comes to like maybe that scene on the plane where like he had, I mean obviously she could have had this conversation with Taekyeon too, I guess. But I felt like the scene on the plane where Jason and Rachel like do connect about being foreigners felt like one of the most realistic parts of the book. It like really did seem genuine. So like I guess that could have been a conversation that she would have been able to have with Henry, like if that's, you know, if they were friends. I don't know.
Yeah, I have no.
I wouldn't want to be friends with
absolutely
him,
no
so
idea.
I wouldn't be interested in that kind of conversation, but whatever.
I think Henry's
I don't think it's Henry.
I don't think I could handle him like every day, but like once in a while when you need to like really get energized. he's
Sure,
like a
sure,
bunny.
sure.
That's probably true.
Yes.
Probably true.
Okay, so our last theory, Jason, Angelica presented this right when we finished the book, and I've thought about it so much. So I'm gonna let you present it.
Well, my just immediate thought based on his general personality and golden boy status was that he had to be Baekhyun. And even though Baekhyun is not a foreigner, right? Like that he just like, Baekhyun is like famously a slacker, I feel like, like he's constantly goofing off and no one ever gets mad at him for it. And like you were saying before with like, how you thought that Jason was probably, like her friend's boyfriend and not someone that she specifically dated. Baekhyun dated Taeyeon, right? And so I think he was younger, right? They did have like a scandal where they got found out, and then his repercussions were like arguably way less consequential than hers. And I feel like because he's younger, it would have been really easy for him to be like super naive about the double standards that Taeyeon probably dealt with like in dating him, and that Jessica would have been able to like observe
witness
from like the third party. And so in that sense that like he seemed like a charming like dick, which is pretty much how I think of Baekhyun, like just a charming ass. And that like that idea of describing someone you didn't actually date yourself, like
but just absorbed from over here
from the peripheral.
No, I could see that.
Yeah. So that's our list of potential Jasons, unless anybody has thought of any in the last few minutes. But I think I think these are pretty good theories.
Yeah.
It's a good list.
Baekhyun was the one that I kept finding myself like picturing him as. Although sometimes I would picture Kang Daniel's face.
Me too. I pictured Kang Daniel I don't know why.
Yeah.
I think it was when they said that he was the most popular and everyone's favorite. He just became Kang Daniel in my mind.
That face just came.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, now, like, every time I thought of Donghae, it just is Donghae. Just like I can only picture that just because I can picture Donghae with his guitar.
Right.
Writing a song. I don't know.
Totally. Yeah.
So Donghae is your strongest contender. If you had to pick one of these 6 or one that wasn't mentioned, is there anyone else you think maybe it could be that we didn't bring up?
Don't think so that I would know of. If I had to guess, it would be a combination between Tech and Donghae. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But like I don't know that like all of the stuff that happened in the book references those two specifically.
Of course.
Yeah, that's fair. That's
mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, because I don't know, like she might not have been like I don't feel like Tech was so removed from the Korean side that he would have had an issue with being the international person, in the group. Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
Soul Side kind of seems like
he didn't really struggle with like a language barrier, right? Like so I feel like because he only, like we were saying before, he was born in Korea and then lived in the
went
US
to Boston for a long time,
came back, right?
Yeah, and then came back. And he still was fluent in both, and he helped Nikun for most of the time in 2PM.
Yeah.
But Nikun really was very dedicated in being good at Korean too.
Right.
Yeah,
so.
that is true.
That is true.
And the Nikun, I mean, an argument for it being Nikun would be that like him being Thai, I think maybe they could also like combine it with,
because that's also of, like, different.
And
we talked about that on the We Got Married episode where we did our Kuntoria deep dive, that like they constantly, every episode, like it was their precious nickname. They were the foreign couple and they were foreigners, and they made fun of everything they said, and they were foreigners. And like, so I think that was his role. And so the way that they talk about like Jason's half white and everybody loves him because he's different.
Nikun still to this day is still the foreigner, even though he's great and like has an established
and he's
like,
been around
for forever. Yeah, and he's still the foreigner. Yeah, and he's not even the only Thai idol anymore. Like there's other ones, whatever.
Okay. So moving on to the next big question, which is, who is Mina? And I have 3 contenders based on like similarities to Mina, but like we said, we think Mina might be a Mechazord of all of the worst parts of Girls' Generation. But the most popular theory of who Mina is Taeyeon, like hands down everyone just thinks that it's Taeyeon, which I was like, as a very big fan of Taeyeon, I was like slightly surprised by at first, but then I thought about it more, and I feel like anybody who's like and like if you do like performing, like people who are good at stuff can sometimes be nightmares because they're really good at things and they don't have patience for other people. And I feel like Taeyeon was the leader, and she is like very, very talented, and she like shone a lot. So like I could imagine that her and Jessica probably got into it a lot. Like that makes sense to me.
Yeah, and they were also young.
Yes.
Being forced to be in close quarters with each other.
Yeah, and
idol.
Yeah, and Taeyeon was like the lead vocal while Jessica was the main vocal, so there's probably already like a bit of competitiveness. And I also thought like I kind of pictured Mina as Taeyeon sometimes too. Like that was sometimes the face that came to mind. I didn't always. She kind of like wavered. I like thought of different people while I was reading, but sometimes I would picture Taeyeon also because I felt like because of that like. You know, maybe Jessica resented the fact that she wasn't the lead vocal because she makes Rachel the lead vocal in the group.
Sure.
And so I was like, maybe just like from her own projection and resentment, like she is like Taeyeon is Mina because Jessica was always like bitter about the fact that she wasn't the main vocal or the lead vocal. But Taeyeon always struck me as like a very nice person. So
like the way that Mina is so mean is like hard for me to picture any of them like seriously being that mean to each other. But I don't know. But
yeah, she's just so ruthless. Like the degree to which how mean she is, like I don't know.
But you need that character,
of course,
as per trope wise. It has to be so terrible that like you're like, well, just be a serial killer already. Come on,
right?
Like,
oh my God.
what are you doing?
Really though, like the lines that she crossed were afar, like they were out there.
Yeah. One of the like biggest pieces of evidence to support potential Jessica Taeyeon beef is that like the rumor was that Tae-so was supposed to have Jessica in it because Jessica was like Sohyun was not popular, so like people did not expect her to get put in the subunit, but like the rumor was that Taeyeon refused to work with Jessica in a subunit. So like that's how that went down. Is the tea.
Well, maybe Mina's like the personification of that like grudge. So it's not like she was exactly that mean, but like that's how it felt to young Jessica, you know?
Oh my God, maybe this whole Summer Heat trio thing is just like Jessica writing out her fantasy of being Tae-so. Like she never got it and she never got to be in that trio. So she's like getting it now. That's hot tea. That's some hot gossip I didn't know about.
Hot gossip. No, thank you.
I like that one.
Thank you to Scrambled Eggyo in our Discord, who is a hardcore zone, and I said, give me all the old school dirt, and I was sent many videos, and I'm catching up.
Good.
But the next one that they thought it could potentially be is Soo-young, just because there are a few like variety show clips from back in the day when these girls lived on variety shows where Soo-young and Jessica get a little snipey at each other.
Okay.
And she also like Soo-young is very beautiful and has super ice princess energy. Like I feel like if Jessica wasn't in the group, she would have been the one who got like the ice princess or whatever, because she's got like supermodel whatever. So potentially Soo-young. But then the next one that I think has the most in common with Mina is Sunny, because Sunny is related to Lee Soo-man. So, and even though people have said she didn't get special treatment, like, come on, though. She's related to the... Come on.
Like,
so that's...
Isn't she like his niece?
Yes.
Like, it's a close relation, right? Like, it's not like
there's
she's
no way that there's going to be anything.
Yeah.
So, like,
100%.
the fact that Mina is, like, connected and is mean, but that she also isn't getting the spotlight that she feels like she deserves is what I feel like... Because, yeah, Soo-young was also, like, the main dancer, but, like, people say that she's ugly and, like, she would be in the center, but, like, she didn't. So, I don't know. I think your theory that, like, Mina is just, like, a mechazord of all the worst parts of every member of Girls' Generation makes a lot of sense, I guess.
Yeah, because it seems like, I mean, I felt like there were a lot of moments in the book where I was picking up on, you know, old bitterness that's still burning bright. So to me, I just sort of felt like I was picking up all these little pieces where I was like, I think she hates everyone in Girls' Generation. Like, I think she hates them all. And that, like, she took one thing she disliked from every person and just mushed them into one person and was like, she's mean.
Mina.
And that's how we got Mina.
Girl.
The Mina.
The mean one.
But speaking of old grudges, we touched on this last week, so like we don't have to talk about it forever. But we discussed last week that we think if anybody in the book is Jessica, that Kong-Gina is Jessica. I had this spark of a thought when she described the way that Kong-Gina looked in the fancy buffet in the Jeju hotel. Like she went on and on about how she looked so fashionable and glamorous and her sparkly nails, but like, oh, effortless and cool. And I'm like, that's how Jessica thinks she was describing herself. I could feel it. And then, yeah, the way that Kong-Gina is like betrayed by her company and her group and like, it felt like the most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the way that she was like, not only, you know, kicked out of the group sort of in disgrace and like painted as the diva in the press, but it also happened to be like she also happened to be in a relationship, and so like all of those things are true of how Jessica left SM, right? Like sure, SM tried to put out these like placid statements of like let's all
we all just
want to
go separate directions, it's fine,
right? Like we're all interested in separate things. Like I felt like without even being a Seon or like knowing anything about the fandom, when I was getting to know K-pop, I feel like I knew Jessica as the one who abandoned her group to like get married and move to New York and do fashion or something. Like that was the myth.
That was the narrative.
That was the narrative I knew. And so like for me, some random ass baby K-pop fan in California, like that's the impression that I had. Like clearly she got dragged through the mud somehow when it really happened, because like that myth pervades, like it's still around.
Yeah
I could see it, and I don't want to like go like too deep into it because I don't think she went this deep, but I could see her character being that like older sister trying to protect, like show the wisdom of what had happened to her, and it could happen.
Yes.
And like kind of like it perceived in a character in the book, like she's
sure
to
like
tell Rachel
like an avatar for like herself, that like if I had known on my way out of the building, I would have told them all. I would have gotten my grand
like,
speech and I would have told
new idols now. This is like my like
I'm telling
gift
you the
to you.
truth. Yeah for sure.
Be careful.
She definitely strikes me as the kind of person who, if she were to meet like a new idol now, she would be like, let me tell you. You know what I mean? Like she would take like any opportunity to like impart wisdom or warnings or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, next thing on the list of potential or things that are based on true experiences in the book. We focused a lot about thinking it was very weird that they toured a single, and I do think it is still weird to tour a single. However, I was reminded by our Discord listeners that in 2009, Jessica did promote a weird fake joke song called Naengmyeon with Park Myung-soo for an Infinity Challenge episode. And the song was like insanely popular, and they performed it like all the time. And it even won the Mellon Award that year for like best OST. So even though it seemed pretty silly, like Jessica did have experience in like promoting a weird single by herself. So that's something.
Yeah, but like two unknown trainees.
I know, it's too silly. It's too silly.
Yeah.
Just
Tour of Canada.
And also, yeah, two girls, one guy, like really with the Korean like entertainment, like and K-pop people allow that to happen. I just don't.
Yeah.
That seems fishy.
We got an email from a Canadian listener today who was like particularly offended by the idea of like K-pop anything making 5 stops in Canada. Like they were very upset about that.
Wait a minute,
that does not happen.
Does not happen.
That's a legitimate, you know what? That's a real gripe.
Yeah.
I feel for that person. And I feel for every Canadian K-pop fan who had to read this blasphemy in the book and be like, this never happens. This is fiction.
The next thing that is on the truths list is I have now been fully informed that like Jessica did struggle with dancing. So Rachel having a very hard time dancing is like super true because I guess she used to forget choreo a lot. Like it was part of a thing they talked about when they introduced her on Weekly Idol. Like she doesn't remember the dances. So that part, very true. Though I did find...
That's so crazy. Can you imagine, though, like, an idol today who's like, haha, like, she always forgets the steps on stage. Like, I cannot imagine anybody, I can't imagine.
I don't know.
Anybody getting away with that.
I feel like, because they do that, like, a lot of, like, interviews with EXO, like, half the group would be like, yeah, we're not good dancers, so they put us in the back. And you're like, but, like, you're not good dancers just in EXO, but, like, comparatively in the world, you're great. So...
Right.
What are you talking about?
Right.
That's true. It is relative when they're saying they're not good at something. You do have to take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, but that does like it. This plot point of like Rachel's not good at dancing just brings me to like a thing that bothered me about the book, and I think will make a better movie. Is I felt like all of the descriptions of dancing and singing and practicing were like very lacking. And, like, they were either, like, her being like, no, step left. Ooh, oh, my foot. And I was like, this isn't fun to read. And, like, I didn't feel like the person who, like, one of our Discord listeners said it didn't feel like the person who wrote it had any experience with, like, singing for 6 straight hours and what that actually is like, and that they sort of didn't. And I know that will come across better in the movie. But, like, it was weird to have a book try to describe someone not being able to get a dance right. I don't know. Maybe if she'd been a better writer.
Or the ghost writer had any clue
of how dancing works.
Industry.
Yeah, the industry or dancing in general, like either way. Yeah, I know. I feel like we keep bringing this up in every episode, but it's just the part that like I can't get over. I won't get over it, and it just seems like the ghostwriter and Jessica like really didn't talk, and like so much of these things would have been. I don't know. Did Jessica even read the final book? Like, and she like approved of all of these things. I'm
not sure. I'm really not.
I just like can't wrap my brain around somebody who was an idol reading through that book and being like, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, like
I don't know. Put my name on that.
Only like,
I like it.
Rehearses 2 days a week. They actually allow that to happen. Like,
okay, great. You are so good at segues, Jessie. You can't even see the document that we're working off of, but you're just like running us right into it. So this was something that we said in the first episode was so crazy. Like a part-time trainee, like you must be getting overlooked all the time. Like how is she the favorite if she's never showing up? We got an email from a listener who sent us a video from a former SM trainee named Stella Kim, and she tells her whole story in this YouTube video. And she was an SM trainee who was slated to debut with Girls' Generation, but her parents were like not about the K-pop thing, so she only got to train part-time. But she was still so good. They were gonna put her in the final group, but like her parents freaked out and said actually no and pulled her. So this listener was suggesting that it's that potentially like Rachel's whole story of like being left out and doing part-time stuff and her parents not being supportive was Stella's story, because that's not Jessica's story. Like her parents were all about her and her sister being famous. Like that's why they did
that's
all
why
of
they're
that.
both
that's why they're both, and they got in as young as they did. Yeah. Okay, I could see that.
Yeah, so I thought that was very interesting that like there was somebody that Jessica would have known who like has this similar to Rachel's story. So hey, there we go, fact checking.
But maybe like you should have made the character also good at dancing too.
I know, that's not fair.
Not throwing up on shoes.
The puking,
right? Okay,
there's a lot of stuff that like makes her not like a good idol candidate.
Yes, like if you're only gonna train 2 days a week, then you have to be spectacular at everything, and you definitely can't puke on the company golden boy in front of everyone. Like you just can't.
Yeah. a risk.
It is.
Like, you're gonna do it on stage. It just
and also
That's
to
money.
not be good in front. Like, I think that she's bad in front of the cameras thing is probably something they like specifically added in for it to be like a rom-com thing she's got to get over, whatever. But that also like really stuck in my, I don't know, it was like stuck in my side of like, really, like they're gonna let her debut and she can't answer a question on camera. Like, that seems, trainees are on camera constantly. Like, if they're not being filmed by the company, they're filming themselves. Like,
Because
think
they
about
have to be like
all
so
of they have to be used to being on camera. Like, I'm thinking about all of the pre-debut footage that I've ever seen of 17. And it's like, from the moment they, like, literally members with cameras are, like, crawling into bed, waking you up until you fall asleep 20 hours later. Like, you are on camera. So I just, come on.
Rachel.
I just also feel like I know, like, fine, she's not gonna be living in the dorms or whatever, but like, you never got a sense that she actually did anything during the week, like, herself. Like,
Right.
she didn't, like, practice things, except for when, like, she actually got the gig, essentially, is when she started doing stuff at home. But, like, she just never did vocal lessons at home, or, like, because there are things that you can do without, like, being actually at the company.
Right. And she's spending so much time boxing. Don't you think that the people who are being so mean about her weight would be like, you look too muscular,
Buff.
you shouldn't be
Yeah.
boxing anymore? No, but
Or
that...
like, why don't you use the boxing gym as space to do your dance practice? Boxing gyms have the
Yeah.
padded floor and the full-length mirrors, and you said that business is bad, so
Yeah.
it's usually
Yeah,
empty
there's nobody
anyway.
there.
So like, what?
Solve your
You
problems,
could be proactive
Rachel.
about this, Rachel.
Rachel, come on.
Princess
Come on, Rachel.
But yes, that one last point, and then we're going to play a fun game and be almost done to put this book behind us until the next one is out. But a thing that a listener brought up that I like have to touch on because it has been bothering me is we talked about like Rachel being a very bad friend to Akari and how it's like hard to relate to. And somebody was like, I think that Rachel is just not interested in friendship or other people because she clearly has so much time for her like rich twin friends. Like, there's no good reason for her to like stop talking to Akari altogether unless
Yeah,
they
that's
just like
true.
weren't friends. And that's so frustrating as like a reader because you're supposed like there were so many times where I didn't sympathize with Rachel because she was being a bad friend or like all the things that everyone thinks about her are true. And so it was just like very frustrating.
Yeah, and she was boring. Like, even Akari was kind of interesting. I really liked her.
Yeah.
I also think that the writer themselves didn't care much about Akari. So they were like, it was like on both like ends. She just was the character that was doomed to just be traded off.
Yes, and I feel like
Go away.
I feel like the way that the trope went wrong though is I feel like in the YA romance novel, the real trope would have been that Akari is her true friend, but Mina lets her into the gang and she then starts to distance from Akari because she's hanging out with the cool girls now. That's the actual trope. But it was like Rachel had other friends that she spent a ton of time with and they knew all her secrets. They were all in on it.
Yeah, she didn't need Mina. Like, there was no reason for
Her to be friends with Mina or Akari or anyone. She has like her own friends. And so that's weird
Yeah,
too.
especially because they didn't do the like actual like the biggest trope, which would have been a K-drama trope, would have been you had a really terrible person, she has a redemption story, and they like are basically on either best friend terms or on good terms. That's how the story would come out as a K-drama. That didn't happen in this at all. So then it was like very weird too. I was like, what are we doing? Like, there's no redemption. You kind of thought they were going to be like redeeming because they had the
they got
like
there
bonding in Canada, and then it was like nah, let's just make her mean again. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, immediately
Okay.
back to competition. Like, we had a moment of they could get to some sort of peaceable terms, and then it was just like instantly tanked. It was so ridiculous. But it it really seemed, I guess like the trope they used was the idea of like her getting a boyfriend. Now she doesn't have time for her best friend. But you're right, like, because of the twins, I mean, unless she is only friends with people when it's convenient, right?
Right,
Like,
because
the only
she's
reason
not
she's
a good friend.
friends Right. The
Yes.
only reason she's friends with the twins is because they go to school together, right? And they were like, oh, well, they only just happened to be in New York when she was because they had their own rich people thing. Like,
Yeah, they're just there.
yeah, they just like happen
okay.
to be around. She's like, okay, I'll spend time with you. But like, if they're not out of sight, out of mind for
True.
Rachel, like,
True. All right. Well, that was fine. Get it all out of our system. Shine. So we decided that we like to play parlor games on this show. And one of my favorite parlor games from childhood and adulthood is just a classic Mad Lib. And if you are unfamiliar with Mad Libs, this is an exercise where you take a piece of text and you remove some words, and then you mark the spaces with the parts of speech, like an adjective or a noun. You pick new ones, and then you read it back, and now it's silly. So I took I took two very overloaded paragraphs from this book, and I pulled words out, and then Angelica and Jessie, I will be asking you for parts of speech, and we're going to see how this goes.
Okay.
All right, Jessie, will you first hit me with an adjective, please?
Purple.
Perfect. Angelica, an animal.
oh, a sloth.
A verb ending in ing, Jessie.
Skiing.
Angelica, a noun, please.
Apple.
Jessie, a title, like for a person or a job or something.
Dentist.
Great. Angelica, can I have another noun, please?
Maple syrup.
I love this. Jessie, mode of transport, please.
Bus.
Angelica, verb.
Sing.
Jessie, a country.
Canada.
Angelica, body part.
Elbow.
Jessie, verb present tense.
Ran. Or run.
Perfect. Angelica, verb, please.
Skip.
An emotion, Jessie.
Agony.
Good word.
Angelica, verb ending in ing.
Spitting.
Another verb, Jessie.
Sleeping. Or sleep.
Or wait, excuse me, not asleep. An adjective. Forget it. An adjective.
Shiny.
Angelica, a brand name.
Colgate.
Jessie, a food.
Rice.
Angelica, a verb, please.
Turn.
Jessie, a place.
Park.
Adjective, Angelica.
Rough.
Color, Jessie.
Orange.
And now I need, from each of you, I'll need 2 articles of clothing. Whoever wants to go first.
Socks. And a belt.
Scarf. And pants.
Okay. Angelica, something you buy on vacation, like a souvenir.
A puka shell necklace.
Jessie, verb, please.
Right.
Angelica, a adjective.
Smelly.
And Jessie, a drink, please.
Soju.
Perfect. Okay, here is our new paragraph, and this is Jason and Rachel on vacation. Here we go. Jason smiles at me like a purple sloth, and I find myself skiing back. All right, Apple Dentist, what's on the itinerary? What else? Maple syrup. The bus pulls to a stop. Jason sings out, holds the door open for me and Leah. Have you two ever been to Canada before? We both shake our elbows and he runs. Well, then you're in for a skip. Welcome to Harajuku. I'm agonized. Everything is spitting with shiny, from the Colgate show shines to the rainbow rice people are eating as they turn down the park. And the outfits. I suddenly feel rough in my orange socks. Everyone here is stunning in pink tulle scarves, retro knee belts, and pants covered top to bottom in puka shell necklaces. I ride a girl with ombre violet hair, sporting a smelly varsity jacket and a purse in the shape of a soju bottle.
That was great.
That honestly, that nonsense was not too far off from what it originally.
No, I think we might have a story. Get our publishing deal.
Yeah,
All right.
right? Someone
Okay.
call us for the sequel. We're ready.
We're ready. Okay, I have one more. Angelica, will you hit me with a landmark, please?
A landmark. The Eiffel Tower.
Jessie, can I have a drink again?
Wine.
Angelica, color?
Teal.
Jessie, place?
Kitchen.
Angelica, plural noun?
Lemons.
Jessie, minor celebrity.
A minor celebrity.
It can be any celebrity if that's making your brain.
Who should I pick? Oh no. I'm like blanking out on
Name a
everybody's
woman!
right now.
I was just thinking the same thing. I was like, minor celebrity. What's a celebrity?
This is not a minor celebrity.
Anyone.
That's okay.
Only name Celine Dion.
Perfect.
So.
That's perfect. Any celebrity is fine. Angelica, can I have a number, please?
22.
Jessie, a building material.
Stone.
Angelica, adjective, please.
Gross.
Grace. Great.
Gross. Gross.
Jessie, a crafting supply.
Glue.
Great. Angelica, adjective again, please.
Damp.
Jessie, noun.
Cat.
Oh, wow. Angelica, another adjective.
Cracked.
Jessie, a food, please.
Sandwich.
Angelica, hit me with a food as well.
Cheetos.
Jessie, plural noun, please.
Light bulbs.
Perfect. Angelica, crafting supply.
Paper mache.
Jessie, one more food, please.
Mac and cheese.
Angelica, candy.
Nerds.
Jessie, a place.
Airport.
Angelica, verb.
Jump.
Jessie, a noun.
Computer.
Angelica, a verb ending in ing.
Lunging.
Jessie, can I have a verb ending in ing from you as well?
Sitting.
And then Angelica, adjective.
Crusty.
Jessie, adjective.
Slimy.
Wow. Okay. All right. Here's a scene from the fancy rich people party that happens at the end of the book. Last time I checked, Eiffel Tower Park doesn't have a wine spouting fountain or hot teal inflatable kitchen filled to the brim with mini lemons. I'm also pretty certain that Celine Dion wasn't live streaming herself DJing from the 22nd floor of a stone treehouse, completely covered in gross flakes of glue. Laid out next to the damp cat I remember from my childhood is a crack table filled to the brim with sandwiches in the shape of light bulbs and an artisanal Cheetos bar with toppings ranging from edible paper mache to mac and cheese flavored nerds. Ooh. The airport skyline jumps as the backdrop to the whole computer, and every person I see seems to be lunging with what I can only describe as crusty, slimy, sitting joy.
Lunging with crusty joy. Oh my God, that's so gross. Also, I was in it for the light bulb shaped sandwiches, but I was out at the mac and cheese nerds.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it was there because he had the Cheetos, and you're like, mac and cheese and Cheetos kind of work together, and then...
Yes, and also artisanal Cheetos. That sounds great. I don't know what that could be, but is that like the Trader Joe's like cheese crunchies?
Yeah. Sure.
They're organic.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Well, like we said, that's barely different from what's in the book. That actual paragraph is about like everything is like unicorns and cotton candy, and the minor celebrity I replaced is Diplo. Like,
I would much rather watch Celine Dion
DJ
than Diplo. That's the party I want to go to. DJ Dion.
Well, that was really fun. If you guys want to make any of your own Mad Libs from weird Shine paragraphs, please send them to us, because that stuff is always funny. But thank you so much for joining us today, Jessie. It was a real delight to have you here.
I had a lot of fun.
Tell all of our listeners where they can find you.
Okay, so you can find me if you want to hear me. I'm on the Certified Noonas podcast. We talk about everything, not just music, but dramas. Also, if you want all my socials, and my website is Wine and a K Drama, you can find me there. So
amazing.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you. I had a lot of fun. Yay.
Yay. Well, that was just so much fun, wasn't it?
It was. It's been a long time since I've played a Mad Lib, I'm not going to lie, but I kind of feel like the last time I did was with you.
Yes, because I absolutely, for Christmas at one point in my early 20s, was given a like stack of Mad Libs books in like my Christmas stocking from my uncle. And then I like took them back to my house, and it was like a fun activity when there were people over to just pull the Mad Libs book out and be like, let's play Mad Libs.
Yes, I feel like I remember sitting in your living room in that house off of Old Torf and just like playing Mad Libs, and also that game where oh my God, what was it called? We loved it so much. We would play it just the two of us sometimes, where you like get a phrase and you have to draw it and then you hide it and then you pick it.
Oh, Scribblish.
Yes, that one. We used to do that one, just the two of us.
God.
Oh my God, we've always loved parlor games. How cute.
We are game people.
We are game
I wonder
people.
if that's a game we could. It might have to be Patreon because it's drawing.
It's drawing, yeah, but it would be really funny. Oh my God, if we had to like draw like a concept or a game or like a group.
Weird.
Okay, we'll file that away for potential future
for
parlor game episodes. Anyway, big thank you to Jessie for joining us, and to all of our guests so far, because we are reaching the end of our Shine
The end
road.
of book club.
The end. Yeah. The end of this book club, of our first book club edition.
Yes.
So with that in mind, our next episode will be a dream cast of who would you like to see in each of these roles. But for this one, we're going to need some listener input. So we have a Google form with some of the main characters. Not all the characters, we're not casting everybody, but for some of the main important faces of this book, we have a Google form. So we want you to put in who you would cast in the movie version of Shine. And you can find that Google form in the the link tree on our Instagram and our Twitter. You can also find it in the episode description of this episode. And let's see, when do I want all of those? Let me give you a due date, my precious scholars. I want your submissions in by Monday, November 23rd at 12 p.m. Pacific Coast
PST.
time. Yeah, Pacific Standard Time. So
Great.
That's your due date. That's your homework.
Yeah. And I would say, like, nobody is really, like, no one is off limits. Like, idols, Western actors, Korean actors,
Yeah.
like, whoever you're picturing is fine. But like I said, we want to cast this movie for real. So, like, you probably shouldn't pick any, like, 35-year-olds to play Jason. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
But
or like
whatever your heart wants.
Yeah. Like I, for example, will try to pick someone for Jason, like, who can already speak English. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
I may have pictured Baekhyun while reading it. I understand he would never be able to play that part because his English is
Sure.
fucking horrible.
But whatever your casting criteria is fine. I'm just saying, like, if anybody comes to us like, can I pick whoever you want? Because we just want to see what the pool is like. And then we're
Yes.
going to gather a cast list and we're going to be casting directors and we're going to decide who's in this movie.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be just idols either. I know I saw, like, some people were already chatting about this in the Discord, and they were naming actors that they had in mind for certain things, and that's fine. I personally probably will pick idols just because I have, like, a wider, you know, slew of idol names
Idea
and
of
faces
them.
than actors, but nobody's off limits really.
I have some actors in my head for some certain roles.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'm excited. I think this will be fun. So stick around for that and submit your choices. And in the meantime, you can find us, chat with us at AMAK Pop Pod on Twitter and Instagram. You can find the link to our link tree in both of those places, which will take you to our Discord server where you can join the conversations that are happening every day. You can join our Patreon, patreon.com/AMAKPopPod, where we do bonus video content. November video coming soon. It's stage outfit spotlight time again.
Yes, SOS, send us a lifeline. We're drowning
So
in
get
pretty
ready.
clothes.
So get ready and make sure you're a member of Patreon if you want to see that. We have a YouTube channel, Ask Me About K-Pop, the podcast on YouTube. Spotify playlists. We haven't made a new one in a while. Whatever, y'all know where.
Oh
to
yeah, I'm
find
behind
us.
on our Spotify playlist. I'll catch up.
It's fine.
Someday.
Y'all know where to find us. It's all good. But thanks for coming and playing some games and chat and shine with us today. And we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Jonghyun, you're our inspiration.